distinguished guests and reformers and viewers around the world, welcome to the 2021 Open Government Partnership Global Summit held here in Seoul and virtually. In 2011, governments and civil society leaders from around the world came together to reimagine how government serves its citizens. And over the past decade, the model they created has led to more transparent, participatory, inclusive, and accountable democracies. Today, as we celebrate the 10th anniversary of the partnership, it has grown to 78 countries, 76 local members, and thousands of civil society organizations. Together, they represent more than 2 billion people across the globe. As the co-chair of OGP, the Republic of Korea is pleased to join with Maria Barone and the OGP team to host the 2021 OGP Global Summit, which brings together reformers in and out of government to discuss the challenges of today and how to renew democracy with and for its citizens. And personally, it is an honor to be able to be here to serve as the moderator for such an important global event. Although we cannot all be together physically due to the ongoing pandemic, we can be together virtually, still sharing the same excitement, commitment, and dedication to a mission that has become more important than ever. And we share in our desire that in 2022, we will see the world open again. To express that hope, here with us today is our children choir singing a song titled Things Taken for Granted. Please welcome them with a big round of applause.
전쟁이 없는 세상이 왔으면 좋겠어요.
배고픈 사람이 없는 세상이 되면 좋겠습니다.
인종차별이 없었으면 좋겠어요.
코로나 없는 세상이 되었으면 좋겠습니다.
사람들이 건강한 세상이 됐으면 좋겠어요.
슬픈 사람이 없어지는 세상이 됐으면 좋겠어요.
범죄가 없어지고 깨끗한 세상이 왔으면 좋겠습니다.
평화로운 세상이 왔으면 좋겠어요. 아이들에게 좀 더 안전한 세상이 됐으면 좋겠어요.
사회도 약자가 보장받을 수 있는 사회가 됐으면 좋겠습니다.
모두가 행복한 세상이 됐으면 좋겠습니다. 잊지는 않았잖아요. 간절히 기다리잖아요. 서로 믿고 함께 나누고 마주 보며 같이 노래를 하던 우리에게 너무 당연한
Thank you very much. 정말 아름다웠습니다.
That was truly beautiful.
Your hearts with joy, don't they? I got teary-eyed for a moment here. 감사합니다. 여러분,
Thank you very much. And I do hope that all of your hopes come true and that we can create a more beautiful world.
as I did. And now, it's my pleasure to open the 2021 OGP Global Summit. Throughout this week, leaders of government, civil society, and citizens will exchange ideas, stories of inspiration, best practices, and progress on how we open government, how we respond and recover from COVID-19, and most importantly, how we renew democracy. Minister Jeon Hae-chul of the Interior and Safety will deliver the opening remarks on behalf of the OGP Summit host nation. 전해철 장관님을 무대로 모시겠습니다. Please welcome him.
We will invite His Excellency Jeon Hae-chul, Minister of Interior Safety.
예, 반갑습니다.
Good morning and good afternoon. This is Jeon Hae-chul, Minister of the Interior and Safety. Honorable heads of state and representatives of international organizations
존경하는
who are joining us for the 2021 OGP Global Summit,
각에서 온라인
dear civil society participants and government officials who are joining us online from all over the world, thank you very much.
직접
We have with us also
대상
many ambassadors who have come to this venue
의원님
and the Open Government Forum members of the Republic of Korea, the offline participants. Thank you very much for coming.
정부를 향한 전
I am very pleased that Korea is holding this meaningful event where we share desire for and commitment to open government held by civil society and governments.
합니다. 특별히 이번 OGP
In particular, it is our first time that the OGP Global Summit is held in a hybrid format with both online and offline participants. Due to the ongoing pandemic, it is unfortunate that we are not able to meet in person. But this OGP Global Summit is participated by the largest number of heads of state and so many civil society members and government officials who are joining us online.
모두 반갑습니다.
I'm very happy to see all of you. This year, we celebrate the 10th anniversary of the Open Government Partnership.
목표
To realize an inclusive and accountable government, the Open Government Partnership was established in 2011 with 8 countries.
10년 만에
But in just 10 years, the membership has expanded to include 78 countries and 76 local governments, thus growing as an effective international platform for coordination and cooperation and spreading the value of open government. For the past decade, Korea and many other countries have practiced the value of open government and have grown together with civil society. And these efforts for open government were substantiated through action plans, and they resulted in great achievements.
기술과 전
For instance, Indonesia was able to improve the speed and quality of civil services even during the COVID-19 pandemic by utilizing a digital technology-based rapport app.
예산
And Ukraine was able to save budget and increase transparency by disclosing contract data.
국가가 도입
As such, there have been many programs and policies implemented by various countries as part of the OGP initiatives, and these have boosted government transparency and improved people's quality of life. Since 2020, when Korea became the 11th chair country of the OGP, together with Maria Baroun, chair of civil society, we have developed 3 common visions, which are civic space and public participation, anti-corruption, and inclusive digital innovation.
을 실행 계획
These visions serve as a cornerstone for countries who develop action plans and implement practices for open government and share policy experiences among the members.
이어질
For the next 3 days, including today, under these three themes, there will be
주제로
the plenaries, special sessions, as well as almost 130 breakout sessions by topic and by continent.
정부 영역과 시민 영역이
There will be active discussions by government officials and civil society members, which will lead to more creative measures for better recovery and renewal from the COVID-19 pandemic.
우선은
At this year's Global Summit, we have prepared two special sessions to discuss our immediate future.
먼저
First, concerning the topic of recovery and renewal from COVID-19, we will discuss the new role of the government and civil society and promote international solidarity. Secondly, with the participation of the youth from all over the world,
정부
the Youth Summit will be held where new and creative policy directions will be suggested.
함께 개최됩니다. 비록
Although we're joining in these discussions remotely, I expect that our physical distance would never pose any obstacle to our serious and meaningful discussions. The world is now faced with new challenges and new opportunities due to the pandemic. So I believe this global summit is very timely and appropriate. I believe that the summit will mark as an important starting point in achieving open recovery and open renewal through stronger alliance and cooperation between governments and civil society. Thank you very much once again for your attendance. Thank you.
말씀 감사합니다. Thank you for your remarks and your leadership at the lead government co-chair of OGP over the last year. Also, a reminder that simultaneous interpretation will be provided throughout the event. Channel 1 is for Korean, Channel 2 for English, Channel 3 for Spanish, and Channel 4 for French. Now we welcome Ms. Maria Barón, Global Executive Director of Directorio Legislativo and OGP's lead civil society co-chair.
Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to be here today and to be part of the key conversations we have had and will have during this week as part of the Global Summit. As you know, 10 years ago, OGP was founded with the objectives of making governments more transparent, more participatory, accountable, and inclusive by bringing together government reformers and civil society to collectively design reforms to address the issues that matter most to them. A decade later, we have not only witnessed, but also been part of OGP's tremendous growth in numbers and scope, and evidence shows that this model works, but it works best when civil society is meaningfully engaged. And while we celebrate the numerous successes and growth of this partnership, many challenges remain, and a lot of work is left to be done in order to truly achieve open government. Democracy has been and continues to be under threat, even more so than when OGP was created. While authoritarianism, inequality, and distrust in open government are on the rise, civic space and civil liberties continue to decline, including in many OGP countries. For example, only 11 OGP members are currently implementing civic space commitments. This year, we have all witnessed the tense and worrying circumstances surrounding Afghanistan and El Salvador, to name a few, where civil society organizations are making a tremendous effort to remain afloat. As co-chair of OGP, together with the government of the Republic of Korea, earlier this year, we issued a call to action and called on all OGP governments to develop more ambitious commitments in key areas, including civic space, anti-corruption, and digital governance, our three priorities for our term. The focus was set on 6 main countries from 3 different continents: Nigeria and Kenya in Africa, Germany and Italy in France in Europe, and Indonesia in Asia. This experience was the result of hard work, goodwill, and creativity from all parties involved, and it highlighted the importance of building bridges between the organizations that work in the co-creation process at the national level and their governments. I would like to make a special mention of the efforts made by the government of Indonesia, specifically by Vice Minister Slamet, Kenya by Dr. Korir Singoe, Minister Prince Clem, as well as the tremendous hard work carried out by the organizations in these and other countries. And also thank you to my fellow colleagues in the steering committee who supported this process. We have all experienced how we can go the extra mile when we work together towards a common goal. So, as we look ahead and think about the next 10 years, what will it take for OGP to go from a platform to a movement? I think we need a lot more political leadership from the highest levels across all OGP governments, and that they lead by the power of their example. I think we need to broaden the leadership coalition to honor the word partnership, reach out across the aisle and promote consensus building to take action together. I think also we need to connect what we are discussing here this week with the conversations and needs at our local and domestic levels. For example, we need to translate commitments made here to concrete reforms to demonstrate that we are a partnership of action. And finally, I think we also need to better leverage parliaments as key allies. They have the fundamental role in open government of enacting legislation. The recently announced refreshed approach in parliamentary engagement in OGP, which I'm proud of to have led during my term as co-chair, offers a framework for us to strengthen efforts in this direction. The African and the Latin American continents are clear examples of how this may contribute to upholding OGP values. Finally, to do any of this, as I mentioned before, we must first have enabling and unrestricted civic space. Thus, I call on every single OGP member to open and protect civic space as the foundation of democracy and open government. Thank you very much.
And thank you for your inspiring message. Through her remarks, we can hear the challenges ahead and the efforts needed to create a better future for us all. At this year's summit, as Minister Chonechol mentioned, we will discuss 3 topics that have been gaining much attention. First of all, civic space and public participation, anti-corruption, and inclusive digital innovation, all critical areas for us to explore at this time of moment in history. And I truly hope that such contemplations will be a positive turning point to change the course of humanity in the future. Next, as the civil society representative of Korea, Lee Sang-hak, co-chair of Open Government Forum Korea, will deliver his welcoming remarks. 이상학 위원장님을 무대 위로 모시겠습니다. Please
welcome him to the stage.
안녕하십니까.
Good morning and good afternoon.
열린정보위원회 민간의
This is Lee Sang-hak.
참혹한 전쟁을
I am serving as the co-chair of Open Government Forum Korea. I'd like to welcome all of you to the OGP Global Summit hosted by Korea, a country which was once torn by a war but has achieved remarkable economic growth. And I'd like to welcome you to Korea that has achieved enormous democracy thanks to citizens' power. It is regrettable that I cannot show you the beautiful landscape of Korea because we're holding this summit online. But once again, I'd like to welcome all of you. In particular, I would like to express my gratitude to Minister Chon Hae-chul and members of the Ministry of the Interior and Safety for organizing this event. People say that we're living in an era of the great transformation. It is quite true. We're experiencing the pandemic, climate crisis, enormous digital transformation, and growing income inequality and crisis of democracy all over the world. So we're faced by major challenges as we're going through this great transformation. In order to overcome these challenges, we need to gather our forces. It means that governments and civil society members need to work together, and we need to join hands together beyond the national boundaries.
를 최우화해서는
In particular, we cannot mobilize the power of citizens when we think that citizens are just recipients of our government services. We need to acknowledge them as important stakeholders and important actors.
설 수 있다.
Only then we can overcome the limitations of market failure and government failure. I believe that the OGP has a critical role to play in this regard. And all of you, we can do this together. Recently, people are talking about civil society failure following market failure and government failure.
시민사회가
If there's no civic space where civil engagement is
신과
provided,
성공하지
then we may not be able to succeed in social innovation and deepening our democracy through civic participation. Then we will have a worrisome future, because civil society failure may lead to government failure and failure of our community.
뿐만 아니라
Korea has been receiving good evaluation in the key areas of OGP, such as civil participation, open data policies, and digital government.
부족한 이러한
These are achievements made by both the government and citizens of the Republic of Korea, and we need to exercise our leadership.
세계 지
Now, Korea is no longer an aid recipient. I believe that Korea is one of the global leaders, and Korean society needs to play a role as a leader more actively. This does not fall under shoulder of the government only. It is something that all citizens need to do together.
우리 사회의
Korea has many challenges still, including the eradication of corruption and improving inequality and addressing social conflicts and achieving equal and fair society where citizens can trust each other.
미래를 보여야
If we gain progress in achieving all these objectives, we can be recognized as a leader in the international community. There are many people who are suffering due to the pandemic all over the world, and we need to play our part in helping these people. In addition, we need to be a leader in addressing climate crisis that is threatening our own survival. However, these challenges cannot be overcome by any single country. When we exercise leadership, we can work together with the neighboring countries and cooperate with citizens all over the world, then we can make a better future. I hope that today's OGP Global Summit will be an important venue and opportunity for us to once again commit ourselves to a better future. Korea is such a dynamic country with lots of energy and passion. So thank you very much for your participation. And once again, thank you.
Thank you, Shirley, for your warm welcome. 감사합니다. Next, I am pleased to introduce congratulatory remarks from the 20 Global Summit host, His Excellency Moon Jae-in, the President of the Republic of Korea.
세계 시민 여러분, 각 나라
Global citizens, Your Excellencies and leaders of international organizations. This year marks the 10th anniversary of the establishment of the Open Government Partnership. Congratulations on the opening of the 2021 OGP Global Summit, and my sincere welcome to you all.
지난 10
For the past 10 years, the world has been realizing open government by practicing transparency, anti-corruption, and the value of civil engagement. The achievements 78 central and 76 local governments have made together with global citizens have served as a driving force that moved democracies one step forward. I am deeply grateful for your hard work in making governments more open. Although the summit could not take place last year due to COVID-19, which still prevents us from meeting in person, I am confident that global commitment to open government will only grow stronger. Global citizens, The values that open government pursues are openness, transparency, inclusiveness, and democracy. As part of commitments to open government, the US federal government has been disclosing federal spending to the public since 2015, and the New Zealand Parliament is providing its people, legislation, and regulations as open source documents. These values of open government have now become the values that global civil society and governments uphold. Their increasing confidence in governments and companies, which eventually enabled us to improve quality of people's lives. Korea, too, could earn the trust from its people by keeping them informed of what was happening at home and abroad, and policy directions from the early stage of the COVID-19 outbreak. In return, the Korean people trusted that the government was being transparent and fair and saved their lives, respecting and taking care of their neighbors. Korea's experience in seeking open government has been the foundation of trust and the strength for overcoming crises. Through such information disclosure system as open fiscal data, the Korean people have been preventing proliferate use of budget and monitoring corruption. Around 10,290,000 people visited our online all public information in one website last year. At the recent COP26 World Leaders Summit, we pledged to the international community to reduce more than 40% of greenhouse gas emissions from 2018 levels. If it had not been for mutual trust and confidence that we can deliver on our commitment, we could not have set this ambitious target, a jump from 14% of our previous goal. In July this year, Korea unveiled the 5th National Action Plan. We intend to smoothly implement our 14 commitments proposed by our people and selected in collaboration with civil society, thereby realizing the common vision of open government. By helping countries lacking digital capabilities with digital transition and sharing cases of open government with the international community, we will faithfully fulfill our responsibility as a member of the steering committee, Your Excellencies and leaders of international organizations. The mission of the 2021 OGP Global Summit is achieving recovery from COVID-19 and renewal beyond recovery. I believe recovery and renewal can be accomplished through the values of open government. If we have governments for the people, people that trust governments, and strong international solidarity and cooperation, we will surely be able to make a better tomorrow. I hope that OGP's first step toward another 10 years today will be the first step toward a better daily life. Thank you.
감사합니다. President Moon Jae-in has
Thank you very much.
2021 OGP Global Summit. Thank you for your remarks. When OGP was founded, heads of state and government committed to creating more open governments that respond to their citizens' needs. 10 years on, many of them are here today to reaffirm their commitment to open government and uphold the values that first launched the partnership. Next, we will hear from the following distinguished leaders: the President of the United States, Joseph R. Biden Jr., the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of the Republic of Estonia, Kaja Kallas, the President of the French Republic, Emmanuel Macron, the President of the Republic of Indonesia, Joko Widodo, and the President of the Republic of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta.
Thank you, President Moon, for hosting this year's Open Government Partnership Summit. You know, when President Obama launched the Open Government Partnership in 2011, the goal was to advance transparency and accountability, bolster citizen engagement, and harness new technologies to help strengthen governance. Today, those objectives are more important than ever, and democracies around the world must prove that they can still deliver for the needs of their people and meet the challenges of today's world. And this 10-year-old milestone is an opportunity both to take stock of what we have achieved through Open Government Partnership and to recommit to all the work that remains to be done. Last week, as part of the first Summit for Democracies, the United States made commitments to strengthen our democracy at home and to promote democratic renewal around the world. And we challenged other nations to make concrete commitments that will bolster the democracies globally during this coming year of action. The key focus of many of those commitments is countering the corruption that eats away at the foundations of democratic governments and makes government less effective by draining public resources and exacerbating inequities. That's why, for the first time, I designated combating corruption as the top U.S. national security priority of my administration, one that we've launched a landmark anti-corruption strategy to accomplish. And I urge every nation in open government partnership to take up a call to action to fight the scourge of corruption. And let us stand with those civil societies and courageous citizens around the world who are demanding transparency of their governments, and let us all work to hold governments accountable to the people they serve. I look forward to seeing all the progress we'll continue to make together. Thank you, thank you, thank you very much.
Hello everyone, bonjour à tous. It's great to be here as we celebrate 10 years of the Open Government Partnership. I want to thank the Republic of Korea and Maria Baron for hosting this year's Global Summit. C'est un moment important, que ce soit.
This is an important moment. Whether it's COVID-19, climate change, economic inequality, or the rise of authoritarianism, people around the world face enormous challenges. Now, more than ever, we must work together to find solutions to these challenges and strengthen our democracies. An open and transparent democracy takes effort. It's not something we can take for granted. Democracy requires constant work if we are to serve our citizens responsibly, efficiently, and above all, fairly.
Committed to building a stronger democracy that is more accessible and inclusive. We're taking action to ensure everyone, including those most marginalized, feel part of their government's decision-making process. We're bringing our democratic institutions into a new digital age so more Canadians can easily access them, and taking action to stop the spread of disinformation and hate, both online and offline. We're also completing 4 national action plans on open government to make sure we're more open and transparent with the public we serve. And when it comes to engaging the world, Canada is taking the same approach. Democracy, human rights, and the rule of law are central elements of Canada's foreign policy. Without them, it'd be almost impossible to build a better world for our citizens. Les 10 dernières années nous ont appris à quel
The past decade has taught us how open government can help us meet the challenges we face. We have seen how open government can support social movements that demand sustainability, equity, and social justice, and how open government can promote innovative solutions. Now is the time to continue working together to protect our democratic rights and freedoms, strengthen confidence in our institutions, and strengthen our democracies.
Empowering citizens, promoting transparency, fighting corruption, and harnessing the power of new technologies. And by working together, I'm confident that we can build a healthier, safer, and more resilient world. Merci.
Dear Open Government Partnership community, greetings from Stenbock House, the home of Estonian government. I would like to congratulate the Republic of Korea for leading the Open Government Partnership in the last year. You did it with intelligence and flexibility that is vital for the times we live in. Estonia joined the Open Government Partnership in 2012, and in a couple of months will start to run as the incoming co-chair with Italy. We are looking forward to the next year and will do our best to ensure that the principles of open governance are promoted even in the hardest of times. We have to admit that for the past 2 years, COVID-19 has made it somewhat a struggle to always follow the open governance principles. It has been temporarily inevitable in order to efficiently fight the pandemic, save lives and economies. But the key question we have to solve is, how do we avoid the situation in the future and keep open governance principles a priority? As a co-chair, Estonia wants to focus on a co-creation, and we want to do that from two perspectives, further developing co-creative policymaking as well as actively implementing co-creation inside the OGP organization. We need to cooperate, share experiences and best practices. You have all done so much and have such interesting initiatives and success stories, which could benefit countries and NGOs around the world. And next to all the success stories, I believe we all have something that can be even more valuable to share, experiences of mistakes and failure. I like the saying, did we win some or learn some today? I believe mistakes and failures can be even better teachers than our successes, and I want to encourage us all to share both our best as well as our worst practices. The OGP is an effective and safe platform to share and benefit from both. Estonia is known for its use of technology to foster a transparent and co-creative governance. Our e-democracy solutions give us an effective platform to internationally spread the principles of open governance, transparency, participation, and accountability. Next year, we want to share our lessons with all of you. We also know that technology can do only so much if there is no trust between partners. We know that the only way to really open up the government, both on national and local level, is to work together with the civil society and other partners. I wish you all a fascinating OGP Global Summit. Remember, we are smarter together.
Chers amis, déjà au cœur de la
Dear friends, 15 months ago, when we were already in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic, I told you that this crisis was, for our society, a test that was very harsh, yes, but also rich in hope. At a time for us to face our weaknesses, our strengths, to prove our resilience, and get back on track again, to rebuild for the better. I also spoke about the necessity of our organization and the values it holds: openness, transparency, and responsibility. I want to reiterate my commitment to these values that have guided us in fighting the virus. And I thank our Korean colleagues who, in organizing the summit, have reaffirmed the fundamental importance of digital transparency by governments.
service du bien.
Educating, regulating, monitoring our relationship with technologies so that they're used in the service of good. France is committed to this in relation to the OGP, to you, to all, and has progressed at pace along this path. The data from the French recovery plan, as I announced in September 2020, has been shared with our fellow citizens so that they can monitor the resources and efforts of the economic reconstruction of our country in order to be sure that the public money invested in this recovery is used appropriately and that promises are kept. Used in a balanced way and for the common good, data becomes an asset in the hands of experts, our big data experts, designers, developers. Our health information has thus been transformed into a shield against the virus, allowing the dissemination of awareness-raising information, the building of local support networks, the construction of digital tools useful to as many people as possible. The action of these enterprises, companies, these organizations, these citizen initiatives has created a sort of augmented public service, as I like to call it. That is, the intersection of goodwill from two quarters, that of the administration, whose core activity it is, and that of our citizens, who sometimes tend to turn away from public affairs and yet have so much to contribute. And it's because I believe in the spark of this encounter between the public and private domains, between the state and its citizens, between the administrative structure and free entrepreneurial initiatives we are launching, in a few days' time, a real accelerator of general interest initiatives to provide methodological, financial, digital support to provide the conditions for growth. The Citizen Incubator Program is a particularly emblematic commitment in the context of the National Action Plan that we will present on the 17th of December. For more than a year, all our ministries, hand in hand with civil society, have been working to define three cross-functional priorities. First, citizen participation, inclusion, and public transparency. Then, 3 thematic priorities: the environment, health, and international cooperation and action. This action plan is open to anyone who wants to contribute to meeting the challenges of the future and bring their energy to interventions and actions. France's commitment demonstrates its pride of being alongside you through Minister Amélie de Montchalin, who on 17th December will present to you our strategy, our plan, and who will continue with you to learn and to create with you. And together, we will continue to innovate. Thank you.
Tahun ini genap 10 tahun berdirinya Open Government Partnership. Sejak berdiri, banyak perkembangan positif telah dicapai. Saat ini tata kelola pemerintahan yang baik, good governance, telah menjadi norma. Prinsip keterbukaan, akuntabilitas, transparansi, dan inklusivitas menjadi sebuah keniscayaan dalam mengelola pemerintahan. Di masa pandemi ini, prinsip tersebut bahkan menjadi sangat esensial, memastikan kebijakan anggaran dan bantuan sosial tepat sasaran, memberikan layanan publik yang inklusif, menangani desinformasi dan hoax. Intinya, kepercayaan publik adalah kuncinya. Trusted government sangat penting agar pemerintahan efektif. Terkait hal ini, saya ingin menyampaikan 2 hal. Pertama, partisipasi publik perlu terus diperkuat. Di Indonesia, kami telah mengembangkan kanal pengaduan terpadu, yaitu Lapor, yang terhubung dengan lebih dari 600 lembaga pemerintah di pusat dan di daerah. Sejak tahun 2015, Lapor telah melayani lebih dari 1 juta aspirasi dan aduan masyarakat. Kedua, inovasi digital yang inklusif harus diperkokoh. Transformasi digital harus dimanfaatkan untuk meningkatkan kualitas pelayanan publik. Digitalisasi pelayanan publik akan berdampak pada meningkatnya efisiensi, efektivitas, dan akuntabilitas. Digitalisasi akan mengurangi potensi korupsi, penyelewengan, dan di masa pandemi saat ini terjadi akselerasi transformasi digital di sektor ekonomi. Transformasi digital harus inklusif, termasuk menjamin akses bagi UMKM. Karena itulah Indonesia menjadikan transformasi digital sebagai salah satu prioritas keketuaan di G20. Akselerasi ini juga harus terjadi di sektor pelayanan publik. Terima kasih atas penghargaan yang telah diberikan OGP atas berbagai inovasi digital di Indonesia, di antaranya inovasi digital untuk pengadaan barang dan jasa pemerintah melalui portal Open Tender. Sebagai penutup, saya ingin tegaskan inovasi digital pelayanan publik di Indonesia akan terus dijalankan. Yang mulia, publik adalah mitra pemerintah. Kepercayaan antara keduanya harus terus diperkuat melalui kemitraan yang terbuka dan inklusif. Terima kasih.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to be part of these deliberations as we commemorate the 10th anniversary of the Open Government Partnership. When the Open Government Partnership was launched 10 years ago, the goal was to renew democracy for and with citizens. This is critical because when our citizens demand progress and service, it is our duty as heads of state and government to respond in practical and concrete ways. Kenya's open governance efforts are anchored in the 2010 Constitution, which defines and informs national values for the promotion of democratic governance, integrity, accountability, transparency, and equal partnership in public governance. As part of the broader efforts by my administration to address corruption, we are committed to full implementation of a beneficial ownership register, and we have put in place the legal and policy framework to support it. This commitment that was captured at the 2016 London Anti-Corruption Summit and in our 3rd National Open Government Partnership Action Plan became operational fully in 2021. The register makes it possible for all stakeholders to establish the true beneficiaries of public funds, which reduces opportunities for corruption in public procurement. To further improve transparency in public procurement, I have directed all public institutions to publish details of announcements and award of government contracts. Our commitment to open government is reflected both at the national level and at the county level. 4 county governments have joined the OGP initiative. The future I see for Kenya and Africa as a whole includes implementation of commitments such as these and making open government a core element of our government architecture. To achieve this, we need to improve access to digital technologies and broadband and expand civic engagement while protecting the rights and privacy of citizens through responsible data protection policies. Lastly, and of great importance, I believe that commitments to foster inclusive, open government and democratic processes should include specific actions to support women as leaders and champions of reform. I look forward to continuing my engagement with the Open Government Partnership as we work towards building stronger governments and civil societies in pursuit of social progress and equity. I thank you.
Yes, thank you for your messages on the occasion of the 2021 OGP Global Summit. We should all strive to make the event as meaningful as it can be and also work to lead the world in a better direction through the discussions here at the 2021 OGP Global Summit. Let us take a moment to watch a short video that showcases the work and the hopes of the Korean people. Let's take a look.
우리는 평범한 시민입니다. 평범한 우리가 세상을 바꾸고 있다면 저는 시민개발자입니다. 코로나로 당연했던 일상이 사라지고 그 자리를 차지한 것은 두려움. 두려움은 불안으로, 마스크 대란으로 이어졌습니다. 우리는 마스크 재고 현황을 알려주는 앱 개발을 시작했습니다. 뜻을 함께한 많은 시민들이 모였지만 문제는
마스크 판매 현황 데이터인데 우리가 그걸 구할 수가 있을까요?
우리는 광화문 1번가를 통해 공적 마스크 판매 데이터 공개를 요청했습니다. 과연 정부가 데이터를 개방할까? 네, 알겠습니다. 네, 저희 제안서 쓴 대로 데이터 개방해 주실 것 같아요, 정부가.
진짜요?
네.
너무 잘 됐네요.
네, 정부가 API를
그렇게 우리의 개발은 속도가 붙기 시작했고 마침내 완성되었습니다. 모두 고생하셨습니다. 그래서 우리는 앞으로를 기대합니다. 스스로 문제를 해결하려는 시민과 주저없이 공공데이터 개방을 결정하는 정부가 이루어낼 더 많은 혁신을.
나는 대학생입니다. 그리고 정책 제안자입니다.
아이스팩이 왜 이렇게 많이 왔어?
코로나로 언택트 거래가 증가하면서 덩달아 늘어난 아이스팩.
그럼 이건 어떻게 처리해?
처치 곤란한 아이스팩을 재사용할 방법이 있다면 어떨까? 수많은 난제와 시행착오를 거쳐 마침내 탄생한 재활용 방법.
어때?
그런데 이걸 어떻게 확산시킬 수 있을까?
연락드렸는데
우리는 정부기관에 도움을 청하기로 했습니다.
저희가 직접 제작
그냥 대학생일 뿐인데 우리의 제안을 받아줄까?
이런 아이디어는 너무너무 좋은 아이디어예요. 그래서 저희가 적극 반영해서
저희의 작은 아이디어는 정부의 도움으로 민관 협동의 공공사업으로 발전했습니다. 그래서 우리는 앞으로를 기대합니다. 자발적으로 자유롭게 정책 제안에 참여하는 시민과 더 많은 시민이 쉽게 참여할 수 있도록 지원하는 정부가 만들어낼 더 나은 세상을.
hope you enjoy the video. People may wonder, what significance does the past 10 years of the OGP hold? What have we learned? And where are we headed in the next decade? And how do we renew our societies so we can deliver for citizens? To give us some insight, we invite Mr. Sanjay Pradhan, CEO of Open Government Partnership, to the screen.
Dear friends, our huge thanks to the Government of Korea and Maria Baron, Civil Society Co-Chair, for hosting our summit. We meet at a critical moment in history when democracy itself is in peril in many parts of the world and societies are grappling with multiple crises. At the same time, at this 10th anniversary mark, OGP has grown into a global platform where courageous reformers, many of you joining the summit, are advancing reforms that help tackle these crises. This summit, therefore, is not principally a platform to pause and celebrate, but fundamentally a springboard, a call to action to scale up the innovative reforms from the first decade to help us tackle the challenges heading into the next. Today, our world confronts a devastating health crisis, an accompanying economic crisis, a crisis of systemic inequality of income, race, and gender, a climate crisis ravaging communities with floods, fires, and drought, and vitally for us, a crisis of democracy. Globally, we have seen an unprecedented rise of elected authoritarian leaders. Over the past decade, more than half of the world's democracies have suffered democratic erosion. And across democracies, citizen trust in government has plummeted. In too many countries, citizens perceive their governments to be unresponsive, corrupt, or captured by special interests. When OGP was founded, democracy and openness were in ascendance. 10 years on, the forces of authoritarian and closed governments have got stronger. But over the same period, 78 countries, 76 local governments, and thousands of civil society organizations have joined OGP and co-created over 4,000 reforms. Evidence from OGP's independent reporting mechanism and the decade report published today show that OGP works. When government co-creates with civil society, the reforms are more ambitious and the outcomes stronger. Over the past decade, hundreds of ambitious reforms have made governments significantly more open, participatory, and accountable. And for this, civil society has fought for hard-won gains, and government reformers have skillfully navigated changes. Together, they have advanced 4 clusters of reforms that are renewing democracy by transforming the relationship between citizens and their government. First, reformers are opening up opaque institutions to build citizen trust and fight corruption. Today, 60 OGP governments from Argentina to Ukraine are disclosing procurement contracts to end backroom corrupt deals. 30 OGP countries from Armenia to the UK are publishing registers to end anonymous companies stashing illicit wealth. Colombia is empowering citizen auditors to monitor open COVID-19 spending on a mobile app. Second, reformers are empowering citizens to shape policies that impact their lives, particularly at the local level, such as participatory budgeting in Madrid, Spain, or citizens monitoring health services in Kaduna, Nigeria. Amidst increasing polarization, citizens' assemblies are forging shared solutions on contentious policies such as same-sex marriage in Ireland or climate justice in France. Third, tackling systemic inequalities by empowering historically marginalized groups, such as enhancing access to justice for the Roma minority in North Macedonia, or empowering women by addressing the gender wage gap in Jalisco, Mexico. And fourth, confronting threats to democracy. Over the last decade, citizens' basic ability to freely speak, associate, assemble has come under assault in most countries, including OGP countries. Many governments have used the pandemic to deploy disproportionate emergency powers. Elected governments are attacking civil society, media, oversight institutions. Elections, the bedrock of democracy, faces unprecedented challenges. Only a few OGP governments have taken actions to enhance civic space and democratic oversight. In the Republic of Korea, when millions descended on Gwanghwamun Square to bring down a corrupt regime, the new government of President Moon invited protesters and citizens back to the same Gwanghwamun Square to propose policies that respond to their needs. We need more Gwanghwamun Squares in our world today. And even while leveraging technology to open up governments, OGP reformers are confronting digital threats, such as the insidious spread of disinformation online, illegal surveillance, attacks on our individual privacy. To curb disinformation, Canada is strengthening transparency of online political campaigns. In Mexico, following the illegal surveillance scandal targeting anti-corruption activists, the new government committed to democratic oversight of its digital surveillance. So, at this 10th anniversary, let us join together in a call to action to scale up these 4 clusters of reforms to renew democracy at this time of threat and help tackle the confluence of societal crises. So at a time when citizen trust in government has plummeted, let us join forces in instead building citizen-centered democracies by scaling up participatory policymaking, citizens monitoring public services, citizens' access to justice, and ensuring open budgets, open contracts, open company ownership. At a time when democracy is under attack, let us join forces in instead making democracies resilient by safeguarding civil liberties, media freedoms, and oversight institutions, combating disinformation, and building cohesion amidst polarization. At a time when societies are struggling with the pandemic, let us join forces to ensure a just and effective recovery by empowering citizens to shape and monitor those massive COVID-19 stimulus and safety nets, and by making vaccines accessible to all. At a time when societies face worsening inequalities, let us join forces in instead empowering the most marginalized at the bottom and reining in the abusers of power at the top. At a time when climate change is ravaging communities, let us join forces to ensure countries meet their climate commitments and limit warming to 1.5 degrees by enhancing transparency of greenhouse gas emissions, fossil fuel subsidies, and climate finance, empowering citizens in decision-making, especially those most vulnerable to climate change, and ensuring legal redress for climate harms. To advance this ambitious agenda, we need broader coalitions. You see, over the first decade, dedicated reformers were at the heart of OGP's success. In the next decade, we need more champions, civil servants and civil society, ministers and mayors, country and corporate leaders. Let us spread enthusiasm for open government across ministries, political parties, civil society. Let us expand the coalition of committed leaders advancing OGP, scaling up the Open Government Leadership Collaborative. Complementing leadership, We must galvanize bottom-up citizen pressure. Let us engage and energize citizens and civil society, harnessing both citizens' interests in better services as well as the huge upsurge in citizen protests against corruption and poor governance. At the global level, we must forge a stronger, renewed coalition for democracy with heads of states, civil society leaders, international partners, as showcased at this summit. At a time when authoritarian leaders are spreading their authoritarian playbook, we need more OGP heads of states, ministers, and mayors to push back, speak out in democracy's defense, and show through example how a renewed citizen-centered democracy delivers better results. And let us position OGP as the implementation arm for the SDGs and the Summit for Democracy, translating global commitments into country actions and results. So, as we transition into the next decade, we invite you to shape our journey forward, including through your inputs on OGP's new strategy next year. We invite you to join us in transforming OGP as a mechanism in the first decade to a movement in the next, a movement to renew democracy for and with citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Perdon, for the insightful remarks. As just mentioned, we need to come together and join forces to address the biggest challenges of our time and create substantial results through action, just as we have noticed during the first 10 years of OGP. One of the Open Government Partnership's most compelling elements is that it brings government and civil society together in conversation and collaboration towards transforming how government serves its citizens. In this next segment, we are pleased to feature the Prime Minister of the Slovak Republic, Edward Heger, alongside civil society leader and OGP Steering Committee member, Susanna Wink, sharing their vision on the future of open government in Slovakia.
Hello, and thank you for the opportunity to participate at the 7th OGP Global Summit. I am Susanna Wink, and I serve at the steering committee, and I also represent a Slovak NGO called The Currents. I am honored to be hosted today by the Slovak Prime Minister, Mr. Eduard Heger. Hello.
Hello, thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be part of this discussion.
And thank you very much for your openness to be part of this mutual dialogue. And let's jump straight into it, shall we?
Yes.
You would probably agree that we live extremely challenging times. The largest global health pandemic in a century aside, the global barometers show historic decline in trust of people in democracy. And data uncovers that the #1 predictor of civil unrest is systemic corruption. In this regard, Slovakia learned really the hard way. High standards of transparency across the whole public sector and judicial independence came as a result of authoritarian governments in the 90s. Later on, we were shocked by the murder of investigative journalist and his fiancée, being the consequence of state capture of by oligarchic groups. Your government, on the other hand, freed criminal justice and law enforcement to prosecute corruption and to restore trust. People expect now a very tangible, clear change. Where do you see challenges to deliver such a really powerful change? And if you could please elaborate about especially those examples that could be inspirational for other countries.
Well, by answering this question, I will start with a very important date in our history. It's the 17th November, which was just a couple weeks ago, when the Velvet Revolution started in 1989 in Czechoslovakia. The reason why I'm mentioning this date, because that was the date where we cut off from the Soviet Union. We transferred into democracy, into a freedom, values of freedom, and we started to build a new society. Now we are 32 years later, and we see what was successful and where we still have a lot of challenges to go. As you mentioned, the pandemic really, I would say, made us naked in all the areas where we didn't succeed. And it's all about the values of a society. Democracy is very important, but it must be in the minds and in the hearts of the citizens. Mm-hmm. Then it works. And we see that we didn't achieve this process yet. And also the values of freedom are very related with the democracy. And that's what we are still building. So our challenge is, and as you mentioned, as a new government, we made a great change that we said, okay, the criminal, or the police and the prosecutors and the courts, they must have free hands, as we say here in Slovakia. So there should not be any political influence on it. And that was our number one priority when we as a government came. We said there's many corruption affairs from the previous times. We said, please go and examine them and investigate them and go, judge them. And it happened. And actually there is a lot of success. 26 people who were in a high position of the state, of the government, said, yes, I was part of a system. Now they're speaking to the police and they're saying exactly how it worked. And some of them already got their decision by the court. Mm-hmm.
And so, sorry to interrupt you, but the results are really impressive. On the other hand, the Slovak example uncovers a global problem, because the vast profits from corruption usually end up in luxurious lives in rich, developed democracies, and markets, banks, and individuals there benefit from draining our public resources. It is a mutual responsibility, and corruption doesn't know borders nowadays. And Slovakia, in this situation, is still a rare example of a country that requires transparency of beneficial ownership of companies. And when it comes to businesses who benefit from public resources, there is even strict public scrutiny performed by courts. And the results are, again, very impressive, but we are still alone. As a civil activist on a global stage, recently I observed a very strange paradox. Once our country was a pupil, and now we lead in innovative solutions. Transparency of beneficial ownership and other sectors is undisputed here, but it is strangely the developed democracies that start to lag behind and hinder the progress. I think we need a new standard, a global norm, because without it, even if we do our best, Slovakia will be still weak. From your point of view as a government who should deliver this vast change, where do you see the role of platforms like OGP, and what would you need from the international community?
You named it. Transparency is very important, but it must have no borders, because we have the best practice within Slovakia. We introduced this Transparency Act where you must register in order to be beneficial. But if you are beneficial somewhere outside of Slovakia, we don't have that anymore. So this platform is very good for discussing with other countries, other partners, to create greater transparency. I say transparency is light in the room. So there needs to be a light in the house, or light everywhere, so we can see where the money laundry actually finishes. And therefore we need the cooperation, exchange of the information, and building this new standard, as you mentioned, of the transparency within the developed world.
Mm-hmm. And on the other hand, we usually look at ourselves as a small country, but as I mentioned, we really can lead the way in many innovative tools and a robust transparency network. Where do you see that we could be more beneficial to the outside world, and where we could have a stronger leadership internationally?
Well, as you mentioned, I think even what's happening now and what we have experience with, we could be a good lab to observe, and we could these best practices to share with other countries, because we already did it. We have the experience of releasing the freedom of the police, of the prosecutors. Now with this act on transparency, they can see that we tried it and it worked. But in order for greater results, we need the cooperation with the other countries. So there is not many areas we have best practices, but this is definitely one, and we gladly will offer any expertise on it.
I would love to see this happening and see Slovakia play an important role, because I really believe that sharing technical expertise is really crucial for countries to implement reforms. And without it, if people can't touch the change, they will fall back to populists and to believe promises that are just false. But as we mentioned, it's really a global fight, and nobody can reach it alone, not even governments. And we see, not only as a result of the pandemic, but wider tectonic changes, that there is a shrinking civic space. Many governments are limiting possibilities for civil society. Where do you see your role in strengthening the partnerships with the private sector and civil society that are so crucial nowadays?
You said a very important word, and that was populism. Politicians must become real, must become very honest, and it's about their communication. So I want to encourage the politicians in other countries to be and watch what they communicate, and don't fall into populism. Now is the time for the values that I mentioned. Mm-hmm. History was changed in Slovakia by the people that had strong values of freedom and democracy. In 1989, we were able to conquer communism, which is a dictatorship, mm-hmm. and set a freedom environment that must be built. So that's the calling for politicians to be set and based in values, and have the communication based on these values of freedom and democracy, and have very much in mind also the cooperation with the civic society. That's very important. And that's what I do, because I understand how important it is, and how important it is in building trust of the citizens. Cooperation is definitely the main instrument of building trust.
And do you have a short wish for OGP? It's celebrating 10 years nowadays and needs a lot of strength for the future. What would you wish to such a community?
I would wish to this great community, to the 10th anniversary, my personal motto, which says that please build on the experience, always try to find a way to cooperate and never give up.
Thank you very much for your dedication to anti-corruption and fight, and for your very strong messages. And back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the motto, build on experience, find ways to cooperate, and never give up. Next, we will listen to a special speech by United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres. To deliver the message on his behalf, let us invite Mr. Shim Bo-gyun, Head of UN Project Office on Governance of Korea.
Your Excellency Mr. John Hechul, Minister of the Interior and Safety of the Republic of Korea, Excellencies, distinguished participants, guests, ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor to deliver the message on behalf of the UN Secretary General, Mr. Antonio Guterres. I am pleased to send my greetings to the 10th Open Government Partnership Global Summit. Our world today is facing a series of profound challenges. The COVID-19 pandemic has exacerbated inequalities, and it reduced access to basic social services. In too many places, transparency, meaningful participation, and accountability are being eroded. Civic space is shrinking around the world. Gender equality is being set back. The digital divide is growing, and trust in institutions is at historic lows. Bridging these gaps requires bold action. My recent report on our common agenda proposes a series of measures to rebuild trust and social cohesion through a renewed social contract anchored in human rights. For 10 years, the Open Government Partnership has engaged with national institutions and civil society to promote transparency, empower citizens, fight corruption, and harness technologies to strengthen good governance. More than ever, these values must guide our efforts to recover better from the COVID-19 pandemic and achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. Cooperation and innovation are powerful tools for change. Open government reforms can make a difference towards more peaceful, inclusive, and just societies. I wish you a successful summit and look forward to your contributions. Thank you.
감사합니다. 다시 한번 큰 박수 드립니다.
A big round of applause.
UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. 2021 was a very challenging year, and the world is still in the struggle against COVID-19. So, how should we prepare for the time we finally reach the end of the tunnel and enter an era of recovery and renewal? To share his perspective, let us turn to Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, Director General of the World Health Organization, for a special video message.
Excellencies, dear colleagues and friends, I thank the Republic of Korea for the opportunity to share some thoughts with you today. 감사합니다. This year marks the 10th anniversary of the Open Government Partnership. While the world has changed dramatically, the principles on which the partnership is based remain: transparency, accountability, and cooperation. The COVID-19 pandemic has highlighted the importance of working together to address systemic inequities that make communities vulnerable and hobble response efforts. Your focus this year on strengthening civic space and public participation, tackling corruption, and promoting inclusive digital innovation are all vitally important issues. Across the globe, digital health technologies like telemedicine are becoming an integral part of care delivery. In the future, what we call digital health will be known simply as the way we deliver health services in the digital age. While it holds great promise, we must ensure the benefits of digital health reach everybody equitably. With the right oversight and regulation, digital health can be a powerful tool for building a healthier, fairer, and safer world. WHO is committed to support countries in supporting the adoption of these 21st century tools through its global digital health strategy. I wish you a productive discussion. 감사합니다. I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for imparting your knowledge and insight, Dr. Ghebreyesus. To celebrate the 10th anniversary of OGP and the 2021 OGP Global Summit here in Seoul, we are joined by a global performance group, and they are named Just Jerk. And once they're ready, yes, they seem to be ready, please welcome them with a big round of applause.
The math gon' drop 'em, and 50 ain't rockin' with 'em no more. It's okay, I get it poppin'. Move it, boy. Let the bass kick. I get it poppin'. Let the bass kick. Kicks. Move it. Kicks. I get it. Pop it. Drums in my dressing room.
And once again, that was Just Jerk. 네, 감사합니다.
Thank you.
This year, as we all know, is OGP's 10th anniversary. And we celebrate the optimism and energy that first launched OGP. And we recognize the challenges ahead. Challenges we will meet with collective action. Here's a look at this video reflecting on the lessons of the last 10 years. Let's take a look.
I think we are experiencing a crisis of trust the world over. It's everywhere.
And we are seeing new digital threats to democracy, disinformation to manipulate public opinion.
Anteriormente el gobierno no le ponía atención a los pueblos indígenas. Estábamos abandonados totalmente.
People had elections, but they were a charade.
Porque no se podía hablar de los derechos de la mujer. En general no se podía hablar de los derechos humanos, pero menos de los derechos de las mujeres que están asociados a los derechos humanos.
El asunto es que no nos han dejado decidir hasta ahora.
Cuando fue la convocatoria del 2015, nosotros lloramos de ver cómo eso llegó a toda la sociedad.
People are ready for leadership that looks and feels different.
Citizens must have a say in decisions that impact their lives. But this exercise of democracy must not be limited to the ballot box, but rather practiced every day.
Open government is one that doesn't want me to trust it blindly, so it shares information with me, respects me as a citizen, and values my vote.
The community is going to be part of the negotiation. That's completely different.
Y yo tengo mucha fe en este mecanismo de consulta. Nosotros tenemos que tener las mismas condiciones que tiene cualquier ciudadano.
If you're a concerned citizen, demand open budgets, open contracts. Ask to become the eyes and ears of public services. If you're a reformer in government, join hands with others, because you cannot win this battle alone.
And now we are going to hear messages from the leaders of additional OGP governments. The President of the Republic of Ecuador, Guillermo Lasso Mendoza. The Prime Minister of Georgia, Irakli Garibashvili. The Head of Government of the Kingdom of Morocco, Aziz Ahanoush. And the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, the Prime Minister of Ukraine, Denis Shmyhal.
Es un honor participar en este espacio que legitima un nuevo.
I send a warm greeting to all the leaders, authorities, and guests gathered at the Open Government Partnership World Summit. It is my honor to participate in this space that legitimizes a new governance model in which the citizen is the central axis as the main participant in the construction and execution of public policy. This guarantees accessibility, receptivity, and responsibility before the citizenry, but above all, it solidifies institutions. I'm confident that the influence of citizens in the formulation and incidence of policies allows an adequate execution of the electoral mandate and the strengthening of government legitimacy. With this vision, we carry out permanent exercises for the alignment with the principles for the Alliance of Open Government, Transparency, and Access to Public Information. We believe in an open form of governance because transparent management generates trust and allows citizens to effectively monitor public resources. Our government is built on strong public ethics, and we're building a rule of law. And we follow the international standards for public procurement, and our platform is a very successful example.
De contratación pública.
Using this platform, we're able to ensure that all the citizens and stakeholders can access information. And this mechanism will also promote participation and external control in public procurement processes. So this mechanism has been very successful.
Un Estado abierto.
Working in an open state is a process that requires political will and continuous and sustained commitment. For this reason, we promote all actions that strengthen this governance model. And I am proud to say that the Open Government Ecuador marked an important milestone for the generation of policies for the benefit of the country. Dear friends, on behalf of my government and the entire Ecuadorian people, I express my sincere hope that the working days at the summit will meet the expectations and objectives set. I hope this summit will be successful. Thank you very much.
It is my great honor to address the 7th Open Government Partnership Global Summit and its participants from governments, civil society, academia, or private sector. Historically, OGP Global Summits have created a platform for exchanging experience and achievements, as well as challenges on open government reforms. Moreover, it has been an opportunity for high-level officials to take political commitments and contribute to shaping the global democracy agenda. Georgia was also honored to host the 5th OGP Global Summit in Tbilisi in 2018. However, this particular summit is distinct from any other before. Mostly held virtually, it reminds us the global crisis we live in today and eventually calls upon the OGP community, number one, to recognize the genuine challenges democracies are facing, and number two, to join forces and take issues of open government at the top of the international agenda. This year we celebrate 10 years of OGP, the partnership created to uphold the values of open governance. Georgia is proud to be among the first countries to join OGP. And since then, we have implemented 4 OGP action plans and achieved tangible results, such as improving transparency of state procurement, encouraging innovation in public service delivery, reforming the concept of civil service, taking drastic measures to fight corruption, launching innovative practice of opening up the state budget monitoring, or engaging all branches of the government in OGP process. Along with the success stories, we have commitments still in progress and an important phase ahead of us to elaborate a new OGP Georgia's action plan that I am confident will address various policy areas and reflect emerging needs of our society. Additionally, with this short address to the OGP Global Summit, I would like to share with you 3 priorities we see at the heart of our open government for all countries. First, after 10 years of OGP, we believe it is time to shift the focus from delivering immediate results to achieving more transformational impact in the lives of citizens. Second, achieving open government is not an easy task. Hence, it is critical to join forces and broaden the focus from open data, open budgets, and etc. to other sectors which directly affect lives of our society. And third, reconstruct the way we see democracy. The global pandemic illustrated that issues, which 2 years ago might have been about transparency, accountability, or fighting corruption, today is about saving lives and livelihoods, and this fight requires building more resilient democracies. In conclusion, let's celebrate our work, but also take this journey together and be mindful of what is ahead and what governments can be in modern times. Better version of democracy is in the hands of coalition of OGP countries. Thank you.
C'est un réel plaisir et une fierté pour moi de prendre part au sommet.
Your Excellencies, it is my great pleasure and it is very meaningful that the Kingdom of Morocco has been a member of the OGP Steering Committee as of October 1st. The principles of open government have been the basis of laws and regulations in Morocco. And the principles have been well implemented, in particular with respect to public institutions, we're pursuing open government, open parliament, open justice, and open local governments. These principles of open government have been applied to one of the key projects in the kingdom's modern history, that of formulating its new development model. This major project was initiated by the Kingdom of Morocco, and it was shaped within the framework of a participatory approach based on openness, attentiveness, and the mobilization of collective intelligence involving the public administration, civil society, youth, the private sector, political parties, and many other stakeholders. This consultation and co-creation process involved more than 3 million Moroccans. Approximately 10,000 citizens have participated in defining the priorities of the Morocco they want. And within this approach, Morocco, under the enlightened leadership of His Majesty the King, has instituted a comprehensive and integrated discipline in the multi-mega projects of our country. And by doing so, we were able to engage our citizens to a larger degree. And this approach is very much in line with our second national OGP action plan. And with this, we're going to promote citizen participation and expand civic space. The challenge of openness and development requires global commitment and collective action. Our ambition is to reach a partnership enlarged to include more countries, especially from Africa. In this regard, the Kingdom of Morocco is willing to share its experience with other African countries and consolidate the bonds of partnership in order to meet the common challenges of peace, development, and prosperity. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pleasure that I join leaders all over the world to celebrate 10 years of the existence of the Open Government Partnership, which has changed the face of governance, not just at national, but also at subnational levels. We may recall that Nigeria joined the partnership in 2016 because the vision and the ideals of our government align with the reforms championed in the Open Government Declaration. Since then, we have collaboratively worked with Nigeria's very vibrant civil society to develop and implement our OGP commitments, uphold the Open Government Declaration, and ensure citizens' participation in governance. With support from the Open Government Partnership, Multi-Donor Trust Fund, and the World Bank, we are making progress in the development of an open beneficial ownership register of companies. I made sure that the required legislation is in place for this register and directed Nigeria's Corporate Affairs Commission to lead the process. As the world recovers from the coronavirus pandemic, which has had an adverse effect on the resources available to governments to deliver their mandates, it is vital for governments to collaborate even more with civil society to ensure that the resources are expended judiciously and transparently. I want to reaffirm Nigeria's commitment to the Open Government Declaration. Our resolve to fully implement reform ideas like beneficial ownership transparency, sustain an open civic space, and deploy technology in tackling governance issues in Nigeria. The Open Government Partnership remains a veritable tool for engaging citizens and harnessing their input into implementing these reforms. I thank the government and people of South Korea for hosting this summit. My congratulations on the 10th anniversary of the founding of the Open Government Partnership, and I wish you all a successful summit.
Вітаю учасників глобального саміту «Партнерство. Відкритий уряд». Партнерство «Відкритий уряд» пропонує новий формат взаємодії громадян та органів влади. Партнерство від створення, реалізації та дворічних планів дій до їх моніторингу та оцінки процесу. Спільні зусилля урядовців та громадянського суспільства для вирішення проблемних питань, що турбують громадян, дозволяють побудувати демократію, що працює для всіх. Пандемія COVID-19 змінила світ. Виклики, які майже 2 роки стоять перед усіма країнами, змушують шукати нові механізми для взаємодії урядів та громадянського суспільства. Партнерство «Відкритий уряд» є майданчиком для об'єднання зусиль різних країн з метою подолання глобальних викликів та обміну кращими практиками. Я щиро радий, що Україна має багато напрацювань і готова ділитися своїм досвідом з впровадження інструментів прозорості у державних закупівлях, продажі державного майна, видобувних галузях, відкриття даних, забезпечення спільного створення co-creation під час реалізації ініціативи партнерства «Відкритий уряд». Вітаю всіх учасників саміту з 10-річчям партнерства та бажаю усім успіхів у спільному творенні змін на краще в наших країнах.
Thank you for your messages. We are now pleased to introduce the Prime Minister of the Republic of Moldova, Natalia Gavrilitsa, in conversation with civil society leader and OGP envoy Veronica Crețu, as they discuss their vision for the future of open government in Moldova. Let's take a look. Yes, you are connected, so feel free to begin.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues and OGP friends, a very warm hello to you all, and thank you for this opportunity to participate in the 7th OGP Global Summit. My name is Veronica Crețu. I'm an OGP envoy and the co-chair of the Moldovan Open Government Coordination Committee, and I'm thrilled to be here today with the Prime Minister of the Republic of Moldova, Ms. Natalia Gavrilitsa. Thank you for being with us, Prime Minister Gavrilitsa, and I think both of us here are together for a number of good reasons. We are here because Moldova, which proudly joined the OGP in April 2012, was indeed a frontrunner and has been successfully implementing 4 national action plans up to date. We are here today because we were able as a country to share our knowledge, host study visits in Moldova, train and capacitate peers from government, civil society in the region on issues such as open data, transparency in decision-making, citizen engagement, governance reform scorecards, open contracting, beneficial ownership, to name just a few. However, our open government journey has been a roller coaster, and we are also here today because in addition to our success stories, we have failed, particularly when we lacked genuine high-level commitment for open government. We also failed when our civic space was under threat and was vulnerable. Nonetheless, we never gave up on our OGP mandate and membership. In moving towards the next decade of OGP, we want to see ambitious reforms in the justice sector and the rule of law, integrity and innovation across public administration, radical transparency, why not, and accountability. And we want to see tangible results and move from paper and declarations to implementation. We want to really explore the full potential of the OGP for the governance processes in Moldova, and in doing so, we want to work hand in hand with your government. Prime Minister Gavrilitsa, your government has come to power in very complicated, sensitive times for our country. It has come to power on the promise of reform. What do you think can be the role of open government approaches, principles and values, and the OGP platform overall for the implementation of the reforms of your government? And thank you once again for joining us today.
Thank you, Veronica, and ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure to be here and to greet you at this 7th OGP Global Summit. Indeed, transparency and accountability represent key commitments of the new government of Moldova. We have been in power for just over 4 months, and we were elected with a strong mandate to fight corruption and to replace the informal governance system with good governance. Therefore, some of the measures that have already been taken by the government targeted public procurement schemes, which had eluded precisely these principles of transparency and accountability. It is our firm commitment to reintroduce the rule of law, as Veronica already mentioned. Also, then this involves enhancing the accountability of judges and prosecutors. And now we are in the process of drafting and passing legislation that will introduce external vetting of judges and prosecutors. And I want to mention the fact that this is precisely in line with a recommendation formulated in the Moldova Design Report 2019-2020 of the independent reporting mechanism of the Open Government Partnership. We also place professional ethics and integrity at the heart of our approaches within public administration. And in this regard, I welcome the fact that Moldova is one of the countries targeted by the EU for integrity program for the Eastern Partnership, which is jointly implemented by OGP and the OECD Anti-Corruption Network for Eastern Europe and Central Asia. I also want to mention digitalization. This is one of the main priorities of my government, precisely because digital solutions enhance transparency and are also an excellent tool to mitigate the risk of corruption. Our guiding principle is that in public administration, especially in the relationship with citizens, businesses, and civil society, digital solutions should become the norm rather than the exception. The first steps that we have taken in this regard is to appoint a deputy prime minister responsible exclusively for digitalization and transsectoral coordination in this regard. But also we already adopted a first legal package aimed at easing the interaction with public institutions online. It aims to create a single shop for certain services delivered to citizens and businesses in their interaction with the state, and canceled the burdensome need of asking for different paper-based documents, which often become a source of corruption. And finally, in the context of our discussion, I want to underscore that the Republic of Moldova is one of the few countries in the world in which cabinet meetings are broadcasted live online, and after an initial firefighting period and some crises that we had to overcome, we have now established the rule of transparency in decision-making, and all acts of the government are published the week before they are adopted, with a consultation period ahead of time.
Thank you, Prime Minister, and thank you for listing those ambitious and hopefully transformational actions and initiatives. And because you mentioned consultations, let me quickly pick up on the role of civil society and get your views on the role that civil society can play in Moldova's journey towards this ambitious reform agenda. And how can civil society and your government work better together under this new political context, but also making sure that your government is being held accountable to its people?
Indeed, transparency and accountability also involves engagement and dialogue with the civil society, which is also needed because the government welcomes and needs the expertise of NGOs, which can compensate the institutional weaknesses and lack of capacities in state institutions. I'm proud to say that some of the ministers in my cabinet come from prominent civil society organizations. We are also now in the process of reviewing and updating the National Strategy for Sustainable Development, Moldova 2030, and public servants and members of my team are working closely together with leading experts from civil society on this important project. This reflects a broader approach that we have for pooling expertise actively in my team, as well as in other ministries. Consultants provided by civil societies and international organizations are working alongside state employees to ensure the best possible policy proposals. I would also like to highlight that all the measures that have been taken in the context of the COVID crisis and the new COVID wave that we faced in October, November of this year, were first consulted with the representatives of the sectors that were most affected by pandemic regulations. And through this, we replaced this top-down approach of previous governments with an approach based on dialogue aimed at finding the best solution. Even now, we are in the process of consulting the appropriate measures in the current circumstances and ahead of the winter holidays. And one further priority that I would like to mention is our engagement with the diaspora, which is also an important part of the Moldovan civil society. These are people with hands-on experience in companies or organization in Western countries who can support the government with expertise and best practices, but also they can become agents of change. They can help us improve the governance of state-owned enterprises, for example, or the governance of state institutions. And we are preparing a program for stimulating the return of diaspora and facilitating the reintegration of citizens of the Republic of Moldova. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister. You mentioned diaspora, you mentioned preeminent CSOs. I just want to highlight that on the civil society side, we want to reiterate the importance of more holistic and inclusive approach to civil society engagement. And I hope as we move towards the co-creation of our 5th Action Plan on Open Government, early next year, together with your government, we can bring in those different perspectives, and why not reposition Moldova as a front runner in the OGP? Let's aim for this. With this, thank you so much, Prime Minister, for joining us, for being with us today. Thank you, South Korea. Thank you, OGP, and everyone, wishing you a fantastic summit. Thank you.
We will work together towards this aim, and thank you for the opportunity to speak in front of the 7th OGP Summit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your valuable time and inspirational, insightful discussion. Now, there has been much progress and success in the partnership's first 10 years. Next, we will hear about some of the most impactful reforms from Ms. Stephanie Mushai, OGP Steering Committee member and Director of Partnerships at the International Lawyers Project, who will announce the winners of the 2021 Open Government Awards.
Good afternoon and good evening to those joining us or continuing on with us at the opening plenary for the OGP Summit 2021. I am Steph Mushai, very pleased to have you join in with us. We are marking OGP's 10th anniversary, and we're excited to recognize the hard work of reformers from inside and outside of government who are changing the way governments serve their people through the 2021 Open Government Awards. This year, there were 2 tracks: the OGP Impact Awards, recognizing initiatives that have improved people's lives and/or the quality of democracy in their countries. The second track is the OGP Local Innovation Awards, and we are recognizing innovations to open up local government and transforming the way that local governments serve their citizens. Now, this was a highly competitive process. We received more than 100 applications for both tracks and nearly 20,000 votes from the OGP community. Every application was truly inspiring, and it really demonstrated how innovative and impactful OGP reforms can be, and how critical the passion and determination of reformers is. The Open Government community has voted, and I'm honored to share the initiatives that rose to the top. We'll start with the top winners of the OGP Impact Awards by region. In Africa, we have in 3rd place, Ghana. In second place, we have Tunisia. And in first place, Nigeria, for their commitment to establish a beneficial ownership registry to end anonymous companies. Congratulations to all of you. Truly remarkable initiatives. The OGP community honors you. Moving on to the Americas. In third place, we have Argentina. In second place, we have Brazil. And in the first place goes to Panama for their 311 hotline, which enables citizens to report corruption in public services to the governments easily, quickly, and confidentially. Congratulations to all of you. The OGP community recognizes your great work. Please give them a round of applause. And now let's move on to the Asia Pacific. It's my pleasure to announce and congratulate our host, the Republic of Korea, in third place. In second place, Indonesia. And in first place, the Philippines, for their citizen participatory audit, where citizens engage with the government to ensure the best use of public resources, to improve service delivery, and more. From the OGP community, a big congratulations to the Asia Pacific countries. Please give them a round of applause virtually and in person. And now to Europe. In third place, we have a tie, North Macedonia and Ireland. Serbia takes second place. And in first place, Ukraine, their commitment on transparent sale of public assets through ProZorro sale. This initiative is turning abandoned public assets into productive ones. Congratulations to all the winners of the Impact Awards. Please give them a round of applause. We'll now move on to award the most innovative initiatives that members of OGP Local, these are our local government members, are working to improve in the way that they interact with citizens. And the winners of the Local Innovation Awards are, in Africa, in third place, Tangier Tetouan, Al Hushima in Morocco. In second place, from my home country, Kenya, Nandi County. And in first place is Plateau, Nigeria, for their commitment to increase transparency and accountability in the extractive sector. Over to the Americas. In third place, Cordoba Province, Argentina. In second place, Sao Paulo, Brazil. And in first place, Bogota, Colombia, for their innovation and participation in health. Congratulations. We'll move over to Asia Pacific. And in Asia Pacific, it is a landslide from our friends in Indonesia. Third place goes to Semarang. In second place, West Nusa Tenggara. And in first place, West Sumbawa, for their forum for consultation, complaints, and problem solving. Congratulations to Indonesia. Finally, in Europe, in third place is Vinnytsia, Ukraine. In second place, Tirana, Albania. And in first place, Kamelnishki, Ukraine, for the formation of the Green Course Action Plan, creating an interactive waste management space to change the citizens' lives. Please join me in giving them a big round of applause for all of our award national and local governments at the OGP Summit 2021. You will learn more about these and many other initiatives throughout the summit, and we hope that these stories will inspire others to replicate or to build on these efforts in your own countries and localities. Congratulations again to all the winners today and to all who submitted their applications for this year's award. Please stay tuned for the rest of the summit. Thank you.
And thank you once again to Ms. Stephanie Mushai, and congratulations to the recipients of the 2020 hard work on all of their open government activities. And we do want to take a moment to ask for your kind understanding as we experienced a slight delay due to unstable internet connection. Now, finally, we turn to OGP Steering Committee member Lucy McTernan to welcome the members who have joined the partnership since the last OGP Global Summit.
Hello, my name's Lucy McTernan, and I'm a civil society member of the OGP Steering Committee. And I'm delighted to introduce to you the new local governments that recently joined OGP. OGP Local was launched in 2016, and since then it has welcomed 76 local jurisdictions and hundreds of civil society organisations. The recent addition of 56 new members was the largest in OGP history and came at a critical moment as provinces, cities and local communities are at the forefront of efforts to recover from COVID-19, whilst also facing strained budgets and climate insecurity. These 56 new OGP local members were selected out of a pool of 112 applications jointly submitted by governments and civil society to ensure a regional diversity with different types and sizes of entities and unique strengths to complement the overall objectives of OGP Local. Many innovations and open government reforms are happening at the local level, and OGP Local helps to build partnerships between local governments and CSOs to make their governments more open, accountable, and responsive to citizens. You'll hear much more about OGP Local members throughout the summit, and I, for one, cannot wait to see what ambitious reforms they co-create next. Join me, please, in welcoming the new members of OGP Local with a big virtual round of applause.
Yes, welcome to the partnership. We look forward to your valuable contributions in the coming years. Also, thank you for the thought-provoking discussions throughout this event. We have just had a taste of what our next 3 days will be like. And this brings us to the end of the opening plenary of the 2021 OGP Global Summit. After the opening plenary, we will proceed on to the first thematic plenary titled Beyond the Ballot Box, Building Inclusive Civic Space. For those attending virtually, please proceed to the Civic Space Plenary page on our website, and we'll see you there soon. Thank you once again for joining us today at the opening plenary of the 2021 OGP Global Summit. Thank you.